he's the brother to Vader Red, and to shorten it up a little bit, this man called me back and he said, Mr. Miles, he said, I thank you so much for kindly helping me to know what to do. And the thing of it is, I told him, I said he is 5 weeks old, and you got to you got to know that he is, and not overload him or not tear him down no way. And I said that you need to start pulling with him at 5 weeks old. He bought it at 5, and he had pulled with him a pretty good while. When the dog had got to 7 months old, well, he had some antique trucks there, and they had a standard shift in it and everything, and he had one sitting there as a carport, and he had just got through pulling. The dog was 7 months old, and so he said, well, it's something other he wanted to do. See, he just hooked the leash to the bumper of that truck, and he started walking off, and he heard something behind him, he looked back, and that dog was pulling that truck behind him, 7 months old. And I think that that when you extensively train a dog, that he needs to be over 15 months. When you start really putting him into something that takes a lot to, and I keep the word that comes to me, where he needs his ability of his strength in his teeth and his muscles and everything, that you don't damage the dog. It's like I tell people when they start hog, that you can catch the small stuff with a bulldog, but whenever he really gets on bad stuff, he needs to be at least 15 months old, because his hanger teeth they really set at 15 months, and that's a projected time that they set in his mind. And if you use them on sleeves, stuff on suits and all like that, you can take he can lose those hanger teeth, and then he's not as good in doing things like that. And I had a dog one time. I sold a puppy, and people think I'm crazy, but I can give you the man's name and you can call him and talk to him. I sold one on the Bermuda Islands, and it was a female, and he was now, when I talk about Vader Red, it's not the same litter. She had many litters. And I sold a man one on the Bermuda Islands, and he trained this dog. He really got into it, and for French ring sports. And I was talking to him on the phone one time. He called me, and he said, Mr. Miles, he said, I tested my female dog. We tested him, and she had been tested for 50 different events or tribes. And she said, Mr. Miles, she made 100 on all 50 of them. And that's French ring sports, and that's something that's unheard of. That's something unheard of. And I got some more dogs that's done something that is hard to believe.
Okay. Talking a little bit about health in American Bulldogs. Hips are a major concern in American Bulldogs. A lot of hip problems within the breed. What do you think is the determining factor in hip-related problems with the American Bulldog, if there is any?
Well, I would, if I was to give somebody advice, if they go to a place to purchase American Bulldog, and they look at puppies, most people don't know what to look for to determine the factor of a possibility of having a hip problem on later in the puppy's life. But if you go and if you will, look at the mother and daddy, and then look at the puppy. If you look at them and you notice this puppy or the mother and daddy, either one, it's all of it or either one of them, and they have a big front end. I mean, they're muscled and they just stand out like that. But you got to be careful and make sure that elbow is straight in the front. But if they just stand out like that in a big chested, enormous chest, and you go to look down that dog and you look at his back end, and if that back end tapers off to a little back end, then you got a possibility of hip problems. And it's harder to tell in a puppy than it is adult, but you can see it real good in adult dogs. But the puppy will show it too if you really know what to look for. And I would say that, they project that genes has a lot to do with hip dysplasia. Well, my theory over that, whenever I went through years of knowing and reading and about this situation, that they were just a team of doctors. They were a team of doctors trying to make a big fortune out of it. And once you put something out there and people start getting a hold of it, that they become so outdone with it till they just they cannot see the real truth about things. But now I know that there's dogs. I know that there's dogs out there that people have bred that one of them had a hip problem. They bred them and everything, and the puppies never had no problem. And I know that they've been OFA certified dogs, excellent, good, and they breed them and they have hip problems. So that tells me that somebody doesn't know what they're talking about. It tells me that somebody's trying to make a lot of money off of all this examining, all these X-rays and stuff, and giving their projection. But what I found out that when they first started this out, and they was doing it in Australia. That was the only place you could have it done, and when they first started out and everything, and the thing that was found out about it, that they were taking dogs like a shepherd, and they have a joint that fits straight, it fits in there, it fits that socket. They were comparing it with a bulldog. Well, the bulldog joint, it turns, and if it turned a little bit too much or a little bit that way, then they projected that dog as a possibility of a hip dysplasia. A lot of people don't even know what hip dysplasia is anyway. But anyway, that's what was being done for a long time, and people went berserk over this. But the thing about it is, dogs has been raised for a long time. The American Bulldog came in the United States in the 1700s, and they've been here a long time. In fact, you could trace American Bulldog back to the 1400s, even before they ever came. And the thing about it is, all the years of all this breeding and everything that has been done, naturally, I don't care what breed of dog that you have, you're gonna have some kind of problem in all of them. And that was one of the biggest factors. They were sizing American Bulldog hips and joints and sockets to your dogs like shepherds, Rottweiler, stuff like that. Well, Rottweiler have way more problems than American Bulldog. But what I found out whenever you start mixing American Bulldog with Mr. Johnson and this Mr. J.D. Johnson, and this is recorded anyway. It's nothing that is not out in public, but